You know, one of the things we've been examining, even did an interview that I'll remind you of that dove into this, is how politics tragically is tearing apart families in many cases. And y'all know how dedicated I am to family. And I myself have people with what I'd perceive to be outrageous political views in my family. And I will do everything possible to keep those relationships despite it. Sometimes people just can't make it work. And I came across this clip. Now, y'all know me. I am proudly liberal and rather opposed to MAGA. And I feel so angry towards so many of their views. And also, I don't know if this person's taking the right approach. She is also liberal. Her solution to her relationship issues because of her MAGA husband, which is a huge bummer that her husband apparently, after being married, switched from left to right. It's an interesting one. While you watch, please do click the subscribe button and bear with me because I have a lot to say on this.
Not sure why no one understands how I feel. You guys know that my husband turned Republican this term. I don't know why. I threw his ass out of the house. And I have to do more. I don't want to shave my head because that's going to hurt him. I'm going to look ugly. So I'm not doing that. I think I'm going to sleep with his friends. I think that's the only way. I think sleeping with his friends will do. What do you guys think? His liberal friends, of course.
Okay, I know she's obviously trying to go viral with that, but you're... very interesting. It is wild, though. Setting that example aside, that's obviously an absurd clip. But where's the line to all of you? Because I think we all agree there's some line somewhere. Political views aren't just... It's not like I'm not gonna let sports get in the way of my relationship. If you know, my friend Ben likes the Chiefs, I'm not gonna let that get in the way of our broship. If producer Cole is like, I can't pick one, and he has two teams he likes, reminder for our viewers. They're both upstairs, so I can hear their reaction to me, but okay. But anyways, I'm not going to let that get in the way of the relationship. I might think less of them, sure, but I'm not going to let that get in the way of being friends with them. Whereas politics is about values. So you could see how values can get far enough where you just can't be in the same room with the person. I will always say, though, do everything possible to keep family members in your life, whatever that means. Maybe it does get in the way of a relationship romantically, and you can't be in that relationship in the same capacity, but just it's family is so important. And when that's one of the values that I think we are hoping to uplift, and our policies are seeking to strengthen people's communities and uplift people and uplift people's families and all that, then we don't want our advocacy to get in the way of the principle we're even fighting for all of this for. But if someone were to hate the core of who you were, and that happens sometimes, and it's political, but it's really so much more than that, there's a line somewhere. Now, my advice to that particular lady would be, she said, I don't know why he became Republican. I would say before kicking him out of the house, see if you could even call me in. I'll do it. I've converted Trump supporters. See if you could derive some insights to see if you could change his mind. But that's her life. Pretty interesting proposal for her. The reverse of this is Dean Withers, who I talked to. Not the reverse, but a liberal who was kicked out of his house by his brother. And I want to remind you of some of what we talked about. Most horrendous ways you could imagine. So first, lay out for the audience the story that you've been talking about on your platform that you're currently in the middle of dealing with, and then we'll go from there.
Of course. So for the last 6 months, I've been living with my brother. We hold very different political and social beliefs. He's very conservative as well as very Christian. And for the most part, I've been able to make it work out with him as well as, a lot of my other family members that are, conservative as well. I think the biggest thing, that I've recognized in my personal life is that the way to positively influence, or just more so just by kind of humanizing, a lot of the issues that the left is so adamant about, by having very easy discussion about them time to time with the family members. And, for the most part, that story's been true of me and my brother. For a long time, we were able to uphold a positive relationship. But, for the last little bit, things have taken a turn for the worse. It got to a point where just 2 days ago, he turned off the power while I was, on stream, and then had told me to pack my stuff and get out. And, in talking to him, while this was all unfolding, he had called me things such as the Antichrist and an agent for chaos. He was able to wrap in, his very conservative Christian beliefs, and he had brought up points such as the idea that God turned chaos into order, and I'm this agent of chaos that just wants to see the world around me kind of burn because of a lot of the things that I say and do online to do with, me being a Democrat and whatnot. And it was very sad. It was very sad to see. And I mean, this is a theme also reiterated by a lot of my other family members that also happen to be conservative as well. I think for the most part, the MAGA, party has been able to sow itself into, millions of American families across our country, and just create hate and division even within families. And, it's just gotten to such a point where my brother is so far gone down that rabbit hole of conspiratorial beliefs about the government, about our political parties, and is so co-signed to, every word that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth, where, when Donald Trump calls Kamala Harris crazy, radical communists, that and those points rebound and resolve within him, even looking at his own brother. And, this is a very, And I'm
going to stop it there. You can watch the full interview. It's up on the channel. Again, Dean Withers being a liberal political debater, and he live streams and different things on social media. But, one of the things that I think is important, he mentioned this, is sometimes you don't have an option. Like, he got kicked out. So now there's a real wedge, clearly. And it didn't really seem to be his fault. It was a decision made outside of him. He was willing to continue coexisting, but you had that. But he makes an important point, and it reminded me that one of the reasons I'm also so passionate, not just for the interpersonal value that comes of relationships, but also for the strategy of not allowing for echo chambers to be so isolated that we can't infiltrate them. But if you allow for different folks to be in your life, then just almost by osmosis, I've watched, as not all of them, but some of them really do shift in a more decent and thoughtful and even politically liberal direction, and can start to have a little bit more of an open mind. Not because we're arguing about politics, but because I think this is my big thesis. With some people, when they're really in the middle of just crazy MAGA hateful content, and then you show them profound decency, or they just see you living your life like that, some of them will go, gosh, if his values yield that way of approaching life and people and discussions, maybe there's something to it. And then as they open up, sort of questioning their principles, trying to understand how you can shift, whether it be a particular political position or, much more importantly, the underlying values. And sometimes just trying to get them to see that it's not as simple as liberals are evil and want to destroy us. But the fact that we've gotten to the situation where a lot of people are dealing with that is tragic. It is. And some of the scenarios are just too far, and you can't coexist. But how do we work to advocate on behalf of our position, try to move over those in our lives, and realize when maybe the best approach is to not bring up politics ever? And that's where I'll leave it. If you're doubting, I don't know if I'm comfortable enough to debate politics, but I really love this person, but I know they have different views. I would just use your life as sort of leading by example. Show them what the output of your political and value inputs are. And in some cases, that will open people's eyes up to, wow, this is a really remarkable, compassionate, service-oriented person. Especially, he brought up Christian. A lot of Christians should at least see that, who have been convinced Christian means conservative, so they have to be conservative. A lot of them will see that approach to caring for people, want to uplift people, and go, wait, does Christian equal MAGA? Maybe not. Tell me your thoughts in the comments about all of that. Some funny stuff, some very serious stuff. And then support the show, get the members only bonus show by clicking that join button below.